Hey guys, I'm Prodigy from Airsoft Team Kilo23. Now, I'm just gonna give up on that that webcam setup. I tried it. Actually, I filmed this video once before as a trial run with the webcam to see how it went, and it was about a 21-minute video. And it looked great, but the audio quality was just terrible. I mean, I've got a budget mic that I'm using right now, and it seems to work pretty well. But I was trying the audio quality on the webcam. It was just terrible. I was even trying to edit out all the noise and stuff. You just could not hear my voice. And for some reason, I was like 3 inches away from the stupid webcam. It just still was awful. So I went ahead and built this boom setup right here. So we're going to see how this goes, and we'll work around it. So this is the disassembly and reassembly of the Combat Machine M4. It's going to be about a 20 or 25 minute video. I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible and answer any questions that you guys might have on how to disassemble this. Now, I've had a lot of people asking, hey, how do I disassemble this? I want to get to it. I've got a problem. I want to upgrade it, blah, blah, blah. Guys, realize if this is your first disassembly, if you've never disassembled an airsoft gun, please, 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 please realize this is A, going to void the warranty, and B, you really need lots of skills to open up an airsoft gun. You can't just open it up and put it back together. You got to know the mechanics of it. You got to know how to shim it and lubricate it, and really just how everything fits together and operates. So know what you're doing. Otherwise, have a tech do this, please. So as you can see, I've already got the handguard of the gun off, and that's really the trickiest part of opening this thing up. First of all, go ahead and remove the these wires right here. You can go ahead and set those aside. You're going to have to do that to disassemble the gun. Next up, I'm going to take a flathead and push out this pin right here. Now, this pin does not come all the way out. It's going to sit in here. It's going to be retained inside the lower receiver. So next, pull the charging lever here so that it gets over this little bump here on the top of the gearbox. Go ahead and slide your lower out. Now, my bolt catch just fell out because mine falls out. So I'm going to set this aside right here. I'm going to set aside my upper receiver as well. Now we just have the lower receiver here. Now, really, it's not too tricky to disassemble these. Obviously, I'm going to do it for you. It shouldn't take you more than probably a half hour if you're doing it for the first time. If you're totally new to airsoft guns, I can do it for you in about 5 or 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and get to it. First off, I'm going to remove the stock, pull down really hard on this tab here, and go ahead and set that aside. Now that's an ICS stock. That is not the stock that came with the gun. And then take a Phillips screwdriver, unscrew the screw that holds the back cap of the stock on. I'm going to take some needle nose pliers and remove it because it's being a real pain. And bear with me here, I'm not really going to edit this video too much. So that's out. And this back cap likes to really stay in here, so I'm going to take some pliers here and remove it. Ah, heck. There we go. So that's out. I'm going to take my other longer flat or Phillips screwdriver and find the Phillips screw that's in the buffer tube in there. And it might take some work because it's dark in there. Like I said, bear with me. It's a process. It takes time. So don't remove the screw from this. It's a real pain to get it back in there. I've got an Echo 1 sling adapter here, so I'll put that back on later. You're just going to have a black back to that that's not going to have any sling loops if the gun is stock. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the pistol grip, motor, and motor plate here. Start with the motor plate. You're going to have some Allen key screws here if the gun is stock, but I have fillets because I installed a King Arms G27 grip here. I had to use slightly different screws because the threading was a little different. So with that done, remove the motor plate, set that aside. I'm going to take a flat head and gently pry off the motor pins. This is out. You can pull the motor out. This is the stock motor. I have yet to switch it out for a better motor. So I'm going to use a flashlight here. Okay, now you can understand me again. These two screws are in the bottom of the pistol grip. They're small, please don't lose them. Now with those out, and this little pin will fall out sometimes. It's pretty loose in there when these screws are not in the pistol grip. So go ahead and guide this out. Make sure you don't rip the pins out here, as that's not good at all. Set your pistol grip aside. Now with this pin out, the little pin that goes in the middle of the body, you have two things left to do here. A, the mag catch, and B, the rear pin of the body. You can go ahead and take a small fillet screwdriver here and remove the magazine catch. You got the catch button, the screw, the spring, and the catch itself. You can go ahead and set all those aside. Now, all that's left to do is to remove the rear pin here. And that is only held in by a small O-ring. So go ahead and set that aside. Take your gearbox out of the lower receiver, and you might have to set your lower receiver on semi to get it out. I don't have to because it's just it's pretty easy to go in and out with. Now, you should right now give a tug on the AR latch if you have not already short stroked your trigger, which I already have. So the piston is in the resting front position and no stress is on the gears or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, take a 2mm Allen key, which is this little guy. I'm slowly going to disassemble the gearbox. Now this has 8 screws to it. They're all 2mm hex screws. And they are on the left side of the gearbox, unlike 99.9998% of all of the gearbox shells, which have screws on the right side. So this is an unusual gearbox in that respect. Now, if you're just taking apart your gun for the first time, you will have a black selector plate. This is like a cheap Chinese tan one. This is an Echo 1 selector plate for the M4 M16 platform. The only reason I have this here is because I installed an Echo 1 switch assembly. Now, the G&G switch assembly that comes stock in the gun does not need the little metal contacts that go right here. The Echo 1 switch assembly does have those, so I need that there. So that's why I put the Echo 1 selector plate on here instead of the stock G&G. Now, the only reason I replaced these is because I was running a 10.8 volt battery on this gun for quite a while, and it seared the contacts on the trigger shuttle. So that's not good. So I thought 15, 20 bucks surplus for a new Echo 1 switch assembly, that's a decent deal. So once you have all your screws out, do not open the gearbox yet. Take a screwdriver or something similar. I'm going to take a long screwdriver here, put it in the back, and compress the spring as you open this up. Make sure you push in the bushings if you can. These are pretty loose, so that's good. Now, remove the spring and spring guide. On this gun, you will not have to remove the piston as well, like on a lot of Chinese guns. Now, I am using the stock spring, a system of bearing spring guide to the metal shaft. A System of piston. You can see it's Swiss cheese, and I have removed the second to last tooth from the back to help with premature engagement. The piston head is stock, but I have also installed bearings to it because it is compatible with bearings, unlike most stock piston heads. Now I'll just walk you through here on a lot of this. I'm not going to show you everything, but I'll show you quite a bit. The cylinder is a deep fire cylinder. Stock, you're going to come with a blue, it's almost like a Type 3 cylinder, but this is an M4 Type 2 cylinder. Like I said, it's deep fire and it's made of a pretty dense steel. The nozzle is a deep fire aluminum nozzle, and it's getting an excellent air seal. It boosted the FPS alone by about 20 when I installed it a while back, so that's great. Cylinder head and tappet plate are still stock because I have not had problems with those at all. AR latch, gears, bushings, everything is stock. Now these gears are actually from the Combat Machine RK47 because I could put some system of helical gears in there and make it sound a little better, and the rate of fire is a little slower like I want it in an AK. So these gears are actually pretty good. They work just fine on the stock M100 or so spring. I've not had problems with them. There's very little gear noise once you get these lubricated and shimmed well. Now, as far as everything else, most of this is stock. Like I said, Echo 1 switch assembly. It's got some decent 18 gauge wire here that seems to work pretty well. Now, if you can see it right here, I've got a little bit of extra black wire that runs along here. This is to help keep the black wire compressed against the bottom of the gearbox. If this lifts up at all, it can get caught on the pinion gear when you put your motor in here, like so. And you do that, and it can get caught. So when you pull it out, it can actually rip the wire here, and that's not good. So that's why I've got this little piece of extra wire here, so it keeps the black wire compressed against the bottom of the gearbox shell. So that's a really basic thing. It's just a random makeshift thing that I threw in there to make sure everything works. Now I'm going to go ahead and reassemble everything for you. Put your cylinder head, nozzle, tappet plate, and tappet plate spring on here. Take some needle nose pliers, the easiest way, and reconnect your spring there. Go ahead and reinstall your piston. Make sure it's on the tracks there. Get your AR latch. Hold it back while you install this. Get it in a resting spot. Spring guide, screwdriver, help compress it. Hold that down while you install the other half of the gearbox. And you may have to jiggle everything into place. But this went in just fine, so I'm going to flip it over. Make sure everything's still good. And I'm going to get my Allen key and all the screws here, and I'm going to reinstall them now. What I'm going to do is install the two main screws here, the front and the back ones, so that I don't have to hold the gearbox shell together as I put the rest of these screws in. Now, this is just my way of doing things. You guys who are just as experienced as me may have other methods of doing this. Now, it might be a good idea for you guys that are just putting one or two upgrade parts in this gun to Loctite the screws so they don't wiggle out over time and overshooting. I disassemble my guns pretty often, at least once every couple months, so for me it's somewhat unrealistic to put Loctite in here. I just screw them down pretty good. And I got the 4 screws on top. And with those done, I'm going to get my lower receiver, stick the wiring in there, put it on semi so it meshes correctly in here, and go ahead and put that all back together. Now, get your rear pin, and normally, if you want, you can put this little pin in here, but mine just will fall out unless I put the pistol grip on first. So I'm going to go ahead and install the pistol grip, motor plate, and all that good stuff. Black wire in the back, red wire in the front so everything lines up correctly. Wiggle it all in there. Make sure you don't crimp any wires by accident. Now get your screwdriver. I'm using a magnetic one just because it's a little easier. to get those screws up in there with a magnetic screwdriver. Make sure they're nice and tight so your pistol grip doesn't wobble at all. Now, bear with me, I'm going to get my flashlight here. And sometimes these screws don't like to thread correctly the first time, so sometimes you have to unscrew them and try a different angle and something like that. Put your motor in. This should drop right in, assuming you don't have really thick wiring in there. Black contact on the back. Make sure you've got the negative to negative, positive to positive. Red wire should go with the little plus symbol right there. If you do it backwards, your motor's going to run backwards and it's just going to hit the AR latch every time and it could break it, so it's not good for your gun. Make sure it is in the correct position there. Now put your motor plate on, 2 screws. Now I've already got my motor height adjusted. It should sound just fine when I get this back together. You will have to adjust your motor height. Stupid screws don't like to line up sometimes, so like I said, bear with me. No editing on this video. My other screw here. And this screw bit doesn't like to stay in. It gets somewhat annoying. Alright, that's done. I'm going to go ahead and put it on safe and install this little pin in the middle here. I'm going to take my tack hammer. Check the alignment on it. And make sure you got it in. Pretty flush with either side. That's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and install my mag catch. Put that in there. Install the spring and the screw in the button. And screw that into place. Now, up for the stock here. Install the back piece. Install the buffer tube and screw. Get my other long screwdriver. And go ahead and screw your buffer tube really tight on here. You don't want this thing to become loose and wiggle about, because that's never fun. Now that that's on there, that's tight enough, I guess. Go ahead and put your back cap on. Get the screw there. Take your Phillips and screw it into place. Good enough. Stock. Pull up on this really hard, and it should go into place there. Now to get your upper receiver back on. This can be tricky, but it takes a little bit of practice sometimes. Take your bolt catch if you haven't already installed it. Keep it there. I'm going to turn this back. Now watch out for that nub on the top of the gearbox shell there. I'm going to pull my hop-up unit back. Get everything on the right side of the hop-up unit there. Go ahead and feed your wiring through the rectangular hole in the front of the gearbox so it can go into the battery chamber at the front of the gun inside the handguard. Now as you put it all back together, make sure you feed the wiring in. You don't want to crimp it with the gearbox shell. Once that's all done, push the pin back in there reinstall your 2 wires here, and you are good to go. Now, I realize that was pretty quick. You guys probably have a lot of questions, you guys that are new to this and you've done it for the first time, so feel free to go back and watch steps again if you need to. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any other ways of doing things, also let me know. Alright, I hope that was helpful to you guys that are new, and if you guys are seasoned players, you might need a little bit of help with this, that's great too. Thanks for watching. I'm Prodigy from Airsoft Team Kilo23. Take it easy, guys.